I remember thinking the building felt too quiet for a place that ran half the industry. Glass walls, soft carpet, people speaking in voices just above a whisper. It wasn't the kind of place where surprises happened. Everything looked rehearsed. Still, I had the flowers in my hand and a ridiculous little grin on my face when I walked up to the security desk. My wife had mentioned once that visitors needed to check in. I assumed saying who I was would make things easy. There was a sign on the counter, Authorized personnel y. The guard looked up when I approached. Can I help you, sir? I'm here to surprise the CEO, I said lightly. I'm her husband. For a moment he just stared at me. Then he laughed, not cruelly, not loudly, just the kind of laugh people give when they think someone's joking. Good one, he said. I waited for him to realize I wasn't joking. Instead, he leaned back in his chair and pointed toward the elevator lobby. Sir, I see her husband every day. He nodded toward a man who had just stepped out of the elevator. There he is. He's leaving now. The sentence hung in the air like something that hadn't fully landed yet. I turned to look. The man was about my age, maybe a little younger. Clean suit, relaxed posture. He walked through the lobby like someone who belonged there. 2 employees greeted him as they passed. Morning. See you tomorrow. Nothing unusual about that. Except the guard beside me was still smiling. I could have corrected him right there. I could have said, no, actually, you're mistaken. But something about the certainty in his voice stopped me. So I nodded slowly. Oh, I said, and then I stepped aside like I was just another visitor waiting for someone. The man walked past the reception desk. The receptionist smiled at him. Not a corporate smile, a familiar one. He stopped briefly while she said something I couldn't hear. They exchanged a few casual words, the way people do when they've spoken many times before. I sat down in the lobby seating area. The flowers suddenly felt absurd in my hands. From there I could see everything clearly. People passed through security and nodded at the man as he crossed the lobby. Not the careful nod people give strangers, the easy kind. The kind that says you've been here before. He paused near reception again when a courier arrived with a package. The receptionist handed him a pen to sign something. Then she said it. Simple, casual, no hesitation. Tell her I'll send the revised numbers this afternoon. And tell your wife not to stay so late tonight. She smiled. You know how she is, your wife. The words didn't echo dramatically. They didn't need to. They just settled somewhere inside my chest where certainty used to live. For a moment, I tried to rationalize it. Maybe he worked closely with her. Maybe it was some office joke. Maybe. The elevator doors opened. People stepped out. 3 executives I recognized from articles and interviews. And then my wife. The lobby changed the moment she appeared. Not loudly. Just the subtle shift that happens when authority walks into a room. Conversations softened. People straightened slightly. She walked forward while reviewing something on a tablet, speaking quietly to the people beside her. Then she looked up and saw me. The expression that crossed her face was small, quick, almost invisible. But I knew her. It wasn't happiness. It wasn't surprise. It was calculation. Her eyes moved from me. Oh, to the man standing near reception. He had turned as well. For a few seconds, nobody moved. The receptionist noticed the silence first. Her smile faded slightly as she looked between the 3 of us. The guard behind the desk leaned forward, suddenly aware something had shifted. My wife walked toward us, professional posture, calm steps. When she reached the center of the lobby, she stopped. The 2 versions of her life stood on opposite sides of the room. Me with the flowers. Him with the visitor log pen still in his hand. She looked at him first. Mark, she said quietly. Then she looked at me. My name came out softer, not the way she said it at home. The man Mark looked between us, confused now. You didn't say you were expecting someone, he said. She didn't answer immediately. For the first time since I'd arrived, the building didn't feel quiet anymore. It felt exposed. Dozens of people pretending not to watch. My wife inhaled slowly. This, she said carefully, is my husband. She gestured toward me. Mark blinked. The receptionist went completely still. The guard behind the desk stopped pretending to check his monitor. Mark looked back at my wife, then at me. Then something in his posture changed, not dramatically, just enough to show the ground beneath him had shifted. No, he said slowly. That's not what you told me. The sentence wasn't loud, but in that silent lobby it might as well have been. My wife didn't raise her voice, didn't rush, didn't panic. She simply closed the distance between us and took the flowers gently from my hands. For a moment we stood there, close enough that I could hear her breathing. I didn't expect you today, she said quietly. I know. Around us the building had gone completely still. No one was pretending not to watch anymore. Mark spoke again, this time less certain. You told me you were separated. My wife didn't turn toward him. Her eyes stayed on mine. I told you, she said calmly, my personal life was complicated. The distinction landed harder than shouting would have. I looked around the lobby. At the employees. At the guard who had laughed earlier. at the receptionist who now refused to meet anyone's eyes. This building knew a version of my wife that I didn't, and maybe she knew a version of herself here that didn't include me. She handed the flowers back, not rejecting them, just returning them like an object that no longer belonged to the moment. "I have a board meeting in 10 minutes, she said softly. The authority in her voice had returned, not as a defense. Just as habit, I nodded. There wasn't much else to do. Mark was still standing near reception, processing something that clearly hadn't existed in his understanding of the world 5 minutes ago. I walked past the security desk toward the exit. This time the guard didn't laugh. No one said anything as the doors opened. Outside, the air felt strangely normal. Traffic, sunlight, people walking past with coffee cups. Inside that building, my identity had fractured quietly in front of strangers. But the world outside hadn't noticed. And the strangest part was realizing that whatever truth existed between us now, what had probably been living there long before I walked through those doors.